Picture a Saturday afternoon at your local shopping mall. The parking lot is completely jammed, the food court smells like fresh cinnamon rolls and fried chicken, and teenagers are hanging out by the fountain. You see hundreds of people carrying colorful shopping bags, music blaring from high-end fashion stores, and long lines forming at the cash registers. To anyone standing on that polished tile floor, a shopping mall looks like an unstoppable money-printing machine. Except that bustling crowd is lying to you. That crowded Saturday hallway is one of the most deceptive financial illusions in modern real estate. Half the people walking past those glass storefronts are just taking a stroll, killing time, or enjoying the free air conditioning. They aren't spending a single dime. And behind those brightly lit store windows, the shop owners and the mall landlord are locked in a quiet, high-stakes battle over every square inch of floor space. To understand why so many massive shopping centers across the country are quietly bleeding cash while looking completely full, you have to throw out everything you think you know about storekeeping. You see, the person who owns the mall isn't in the retail business. They don't care whether neon sneakers or vintage leather jackets are in style this season. A mall owner is simply a commercial landlord selling three things: floor space, foot traffic, and expectation. Let's ground this math in a single human scenario to see how the trap works. Imagine Sarah, who opens a boutique shoe shop right near the center atrium of the mall. Her store takes up a modest 2,000 square feet of prime walkway space. Sarah doesn't just sign a basic lease with a flat monthly rent check. Her landlord sets up a contract with two distinct financial levers built directly into it. The first lever is her base rent, a fixed monthly cost she has to pay no matter what. Whether 10,000 eager shoppers walk through her door or zero show up, that base check remains identical. But then comes the second lever, often structured as percentage rent. Once her shoe sales cross a specific monthly threshold, say $50,000, the mall owner takes a direct cut of every extra shoe sale she makes. If she has a blockbuster holiday season, the landlord gets richer right alongside her. And right before she can count her monthly profits, she gets hit with the invisible trap almost no shopper ever notices: the bill for the hallway air. When you walk through a mall, you enjoy sparkling clean floors and bright chandeliers, security officers patrolling corridors, and cooled air in the dead of summer. None of that is covered by the landlord's goodwill. Under standard commercial contracts, the mall owner takes the entire building's utility bills, security payroll, property taxes, and roof repairs, and divides them up among the tenants. She isn't just paying for her own store's light bulbs and air conditioning, she is paying her share of the giant glass skylights 300 feet away. She is paying for fountain cleaning, hallway trash cans, and parking lot asphalt repairs. This creates a brutal economic trap. If foot traffic drops by 20%, her shoe sales collapse, but her share of hall lights and air conditioning stays exactly the same. Even worse, if 3 neighboring stores go out of business and leave their spaces empty, her portion of shared building expenses actually jumps higher because fewer surviving store owners are left to split the total bill. A shopping mall is not just a building full of stores. It is a high-wire financial balancing act where every single square foot must generate revenue every single day, or the entire structure collapses under its own overhead. And as we are about to see, the giant department stores anchored at the ends of the building are playing by a secret set of rules that leaves smaller shop owners carrying the entire burden. Think about the last time you walked into a shopping mall. You probably entered through a massive 3-story department store like Macy's or Nordstrom. You walked through glittering aisles of expensive perfume past rows of designer suits and rode an escalator beneath giant glass skylights. To the average shopper, this giant store looks like the undisputed king of the property, the landlord's prized crown jewel and biggest monthly rent check. In reality, that massive department store is paying practically $0 in rent. In fact, behind the scenes of commercial real estate, the mall owner often had to write a multi-million-dollar check just to convince that store to put its logo on the building in the first place. This bizarre arrangement is known in the industry as the anchor store strategy, and it is the central secret around which every shopping mall is built. Decades ago, mall developers realized a fundamental truth about human shopping habits. Almost nobody drives 10 miles across town just to visit a 20-foot wide sock store or a small wooden phone case kiosk. People leave their houses for the big names. They drive to the mall to visit the giant department store, the big box electronics retailer, or the famous fashion house. Because these massive retail chains know they hold all the power, they make a simple, ruthless demand before signing a contract. They tell the mall owner, "We provide the foot traffic that keeps your building alive. In exchange, we want dirt cheap rent, or we walk." To see how absurdly unfair this math becomes, let's look at what happens on the exact same floor between two very different tenants. On one side of the bright glass concourse, you have the giant department store occupying 150,000 square feet. Because of their immense corporate bargaining power, they pay roughly $1 per square foot in rent each year. On a bad year, their contract might allow them to pay nothing at all. Just 20 feet away in the hallway stands Marco, who runs a tiny independent wooden sunglasses cart. Marco occupies a modest 50 square feet of floor space right in the center. Because he does not have the leverage of a multi-billion-dollar brand, his landlord charges him $150 per square foot. That means a vendor running a wooden cart smaller than a closet is paying far more per square foot to keep the hall lights on than the giant department store taking up 3 full floors right next to him. The small businesses and boutique shops are literally subsidizing the corporate giant next door. And right when you think the landlord engineered a clever system to squeeze small stores, you discover the hidden tripwire buried inside every lease contract. It is called a co-tenancy lease clause, and it acts like an economic landmine planted under the mall's balance sheet. When the sunglasses vendor signed his original lease contract, he insisted on a specific legal protection rule. His agreement states that he pays high rent only because the anchor store brings foot traffic. If that anchor department store ever shuts down, the vendor's contract triggers a series of emergency penalties. Under a co-tenancy clause, if the anchor store closes its doors, the vendor's monthly rent check instantly drops by 50%. If the landlord fails to find a replacement department store within 6 months, the vendor is legally allowed to break his lease and walk away. Now multiply one vendor by 60 small shop owners down the same concourse. If one department store goes bankrupt or decides to shut down, it triggers a catastrophic financial domino chain reaction. Overnight, the landlord loses the small trickle of rent from the anchor store, but they also lose half the revenue from every single small shop. A single dark storefront can wipe out 40% of total rental income. The mall owner is trapped in a dangerous position. They rely on giant anchor stores that pay no rent, while depending on small stores whose rent disappears the moment an anchor leaves. Imagine walking through a shopping mall late at night after all the stores have closed, the sliding glass doors lock shut, and the background music turns off, and the dark hallway corridor falls completely silent. To a casual observer, the building feels like a sleeping giant. But beneath that silence, a massive mechanical monster is running at full throttle, and it is burning cash every single second of the day. Unlike an office building that shuts down its lights at 6 in the evening, or a standalone restaurant that turns off its grills on Mondays, a shopping mall is a 24-hour operational beast. Even when there isn't a single shopper in sight, the owner cannot simply flip a switch and turn the building off. And right before a mall owner can even think about making a profit, they run into the most expensive invisible trap of all, paying for millions of cubic feet of empty air. Consider what it takes to keep a standard 1 million square foot mall standing. That isn't just a flat piece of land, it is a giant cavernous box with 30-foot glass ceilings. You are not just cooling the floor where people walk, you are conditioning 30 million cubic feet of trapped air. On a blistering summer day, giant rooftop cooling towers consume electricity rapidly. A single regional mall racks up massive monthly utility bills just to keep the hallways from turning into a greenhouse. Then comes the second hidden monster hiding outside in plain sight, the parking lot. To accommodate thousands of Saturday shoppers, a developer must maintain acres of blacktop. That parking lot isn't a one-time purchase. Asphalt cracks under summer heat and freezes during winter storms. Repaving a massive 10-acre parking lot can swallow over $500,000. Add in snowplows on winter mornings and outdoor light poles running all night, and security patrols sweeping the perimeter, making asphalt a massive financial drain. Inside the building, the bills keep stacking up. A mall requires round-the-clock janitorial teams to mop miles of marble tile and specialized technicians to service dozens of indoor escalators, along with roofing contractors patching constant leaks across a massive roof. Now here is where this machine turns destructive for surviving stores inside. When a mall is fully occupied with 100 thriving retailers, all of these massive operational bills get split into tiny, manageable pieces. Each store owner pays their fair share of air, security, and asphalt. But watch what happens when 10 stores go out of business. The total bill to cool 30 million cubic feet does not shrink. The utility company still demands the exact same payment. The parking lot still needs plowing, and the roof still needs fixing. Because those fixed building expenses cannot be reduced, the landlord dumps that extra unpaid burden onto surviving store owners. Suddenly, the remaining shops see their monthly building bills spike higher, even though their own sales might be shrinking. This creates a vicious financial death spiral. As monthly building fees climb to cover empty storefronts next door, their profits get wiped out completely. One by one, more stores pack up and leave. And with every store that closes, the bill for remaining tenants grows heavier, transforming an operational machine into a relentless trap. If you drive past a decaying shopping mall with faded paint and cracking pavement, and half its storefronts are sitting completely dark, you probably feel sorry for the developer. You might imagine a stressed-out owner sitting in a dimly lit office, watching their life savings evaporate into thin air. In reality, that mall owner might be relaxing on a yacht in Miami, enjoying one of the greatest wealth creation secrets in modern finance. How can a real estate mogul make tens of millions of dollars from a property that is visibly dying? The secret lies in a system of financial illusion, where real estate tycoons extract actual fortunes out of phantom paper losses and clever debt maneuvers. Before we look at how they pull cash out of thin air, we must look at tax loopholes hidden directly inside the asphalt outside. When a regular worker earns $1 million, the government takes a huge cut in income taxes. But when a mall developer buys a building for $100 million, the tax code treats that massive structure like a machine that slowly wears out. The government allows the owner to claim that concrete floors, escalators, and roof, and even the parking lot asphalt lose value every single year. This paper calculation is called depreciation. Through specialized engineering studies, the owner breaks down the building into individual parts. They claim light fixtures and carpeting wear out in under 7 years, while parking lot lines expire in 15. By stacking all those paper losses together, the owner generates $5 million in tax deductions every year. On official tax documents, the mall looks like it is bleeding money. But in the real world, no actual cash left the developer's bank account. They use those paper losses to erase tax bills on other profitable investments, keeping millions of dollars safely in their pockets. Then comes the real trick, extracting tax-free wealth without ever selling the building. Imagine a developer who buys a struggling regional mall for $50 million. Over the next 3 years, the developer cleans up the food court, signs a popular gym, and brings in trendy dining spots. His improvements boost the mall's overall rental income, lifting the property's appraisal value to $80 million. If the developer sells the mall to lock in his $30 million gain, he has to pay a massive tax bill to the government. So instead of selling, he calls a commercial bank and asks for a new loan. Because the property is now appraised at $80 million, the bank agrees to lend $70 million using the mall as collateral. He uses that $70 million loan to pay off his old $50 million mortgage. That leaves him walking away with $20 million in cold hard cash. Because that $20 million is borrowed money rather than income, he pays $0 in income tax on it. He can buy a mansion, invest in new projects, or purchase another property, all while still owning the original mall. If the mall eventually fails 10 years down the road, he has already extracted his profit tax-free. And right before you think the landlord has exhausted every trick, there is one last piece of free money hidden inside shoppers' wallets: forgotten gift cards. Every December, thousands of shoppers buy mall-branded gift cards for friends and family. A surprisingly large percentage of those cards end up lost in desk drawers, forgotten in glove compartments, or left with small unused balances. When a $20 gift card expires without being used, that money does not disappear into the ether. After a legally specified period, the mall owner claims those unredeemed balances directly as income. It is money handed over by shoppers in exchange for zero goods and zero services, a quiet stream of pure profit that flows into the balance sheet every single year. A shopping mall might look like a failing retail business to the everyday shopper. But to a sophisticated real estate owner, it is a multi-layered financial machine designed to generate tax breaks and extract tax-free debt cash and collect silent profits before the doors ever close for good. Picture a massive abandoned shopping mall surrounded by overgrown weeds and rusted light poles. The windows are boarded up, giant neon logos are dark, and excavators are idling in the parking lot. Most people driving past a ghost mall assume they are looking at a total loss, a tombstone of a failed era destined for the landfill. Except to a savvy real estate developer, that dead mall isn't a failure at all. It is actually the single most valuable piece of unlocked real estate in the entire suburb. To understand why the death of a mall is often just the beginning of a far more profitable second act, you have to look past crumbling drywall and look at what sits underneath it. A typical suburban mall sits on 50 to 100 acres of flat, pre-zoned land located right off a major highway interchange. It already has massive electrical grids, water lines, and thousands of paved parking spots built right into the dirt. And right before developers bring in the bulldozers, they pull off a financial transformation that turns a dead retail giant into a cash-generating engine. Instead of trying to force shoppers back into empty clothing stores, smart investors hit the ultimate economic reset button. They realize that while people might not need 30 shoe stores under one roof anymore, they still need 3 very specific things: places to live, places to get medical care, and places to store online deliveries. Let's look at what happens when a developer buys an abandoned mall for pennies on the dollar. The developer does not see a dying retail space. He sees a massive pre-built structural grid that can be carved up into 3 new businesses. First, he tears down the empty anchor store on the north side and replaces it with 500 modern luxury apartments. By bringing hundreds of residents directly onto the property, he creates a built-in audience of people who need morning coffee, groceries, and gym memberships right outside their front door. Next, he converts the dark middle wing into a medical health hub. Instead of dress shops and jewelry counters, you now have outpatient clinics, urgent care centers, and physical therapy offices. Patients don't care about mall foot traffic. They show up for pre-scheduled appointments and pay reliable long-term rent checks. And then comes the part that turns the logistics world upside down, converting empty retail wings into last-mile distribution hubs. Major online retailers are locked in a constant race to deliver packages in under 2 hours. To do that, they need giant warehouse spaces located right next to high-density neighborhoods. An abandoned department store already has 30-foot ceilings and heavy-duty loading docks. By renting that empty floor space to e-commerce companies, he turns a dead retail aisle into a high-tech package sorting center. Suddenly, the math that once destroyed the mall completely flips in the developer's favor. Where small shop owners once struggled to pay rent on seasonal clothing sales, the developer now has 500 apartment tenants paying $2,000 every single month. Those rent checks arrive like clockwork on automated bank transfers. The utility bills for the giant central hallway drop to 0 because the enclosed walkway gets opened up into an outdoor park lined with restaurants. The shopping mall isn't actually dying. It is simply shedding its retail skin and evolving into a self-contained mini-city. The next time you walk past a shiny suburban town center with apartments over gelato shops or a medical plaza surrounded by green walkways, take a closer look at the layout. You are likely standing on the exact same polished floor where teenagers used to hang out 30 years ago. The stores may have changed, but the fundamental machine remains the same: buying land, controlling space, and finding new ways to profit off human movement.